to Casually Dressed and Deep in Conversation with me, Greg Chalmers. CDDC is sponsored by Pizza Daddy, Lanarkshire's #1 American-style pizza parlour. To stay up to date on new flavours and promotions, then get connected on the socials. The Instagram handle is @RealPizzaDaddy and the website is www.thepizzadaddy.co.uk. To see what we're getting up to here at Casually Dressed, then you can find us on Instagram with the handle @CDDC Podcast, and on Twitter it is @PodcastCDDC. Also, as you're watching this on YouTube, then please hit those like and subscribe buttons. And with me today is my co-host all the way from Northern Ireland, it's Christopher Shields.
Hello.
Our guest this evening is actor and comedian Taryam. Boyd, how are you, T?
Assalamu alaikum, Greg and Chris. How are you?
We are very, very well.
Very good. Very good, my man.
So, we've got the sort of obligatory question that we've been saying to everybody recently. So, how's your lockdown going, bro?
That's a good. Let me tell you, Greg. Very well. No, I don't know if we can say that in the midst of so much pandemical madness, mate. And do you know what I think the big problem is that everybody. No, I can't say that. Most people. And these 3 weeks of quiet time and reflection, and this time when there was nothing left, when the entire outside world's been shut down and you're left alone with yourself, your thoughts, and the things that you've always wanted to do and never had the chance to, you get the chance to do them, that's fantastic. And I think everybody's feeling that, except all the people who had the coronavirus, because they aren't feeling that as much. So there's a bad guilt in saying that I've had a good lockdown. But I don't, I think make the best out of a bad situation. I've had a great lockdown. Did that even answer your question, Greg? Do you even remember the question?
Mate, I tell you what, that is probably one of the most positive reactions I've had to that question. And I did like the fact that you acknowledged the people who fell ill and didn't refer to them as like the wheezy bunch or folk just kidding on, they've no got asthma.
Absolutely. You don't say stepdad, do you? But you don't say my boyfriend either. A guy I know, right? I'm brilliant, man.
Oh, this is going to be a good one. This is a good one already. I love it.
Take my specs off, man. They're getting steamed up already, man.
Is that smoky I see, Greg? Obviously, this is an auditory medium, but have you got some incense lit there?
Yeah, mate, I do.
Cool. Just checking, man. Just want to make sure you're all right on the other end.
So for all the people that can't see it, that was T fully judging Greg, 100%. Just
listen, mate, listen, it's nothing.
I think you're better than me with your incense.
I won't be a podcast with an incense on it. I won't.
Listen, mate, it's sandalwood, know what I mean? Cams me. I've got to hit the cam talking to you two fucking roasters, know what I mean?
Hey.
Anyway,
so, fuck you through me affair.
It'll be like that the whole time, Greg, but settle in, mate. Hold your ass cheeks together. There's got to be no thread.
Get a seatbelt on, right, okay.
Absolutely not. No, we need to give the audience an arc, give them something to connect to.
Yeah.
We'll build on something, and by the end of it, we'll wrap it up. It'll be great. Wait and see.
Right, so I think it's probably fairly obvious to everyone to hear or see you're a bit of an extrovert, my man.
I am, mate. That's a disability I've got, mate. It's ADHD, mate. I don't know why you brought it up this early in the conversation.
No, actually, I was more kind of alluding to the fact that have you always wanted to go into the performing arts?
I've got an attention deficit, mate. So that means I need attention for others. No, that's not what it means, mate. But it basically does translate as that. I was a wee guy. I was just like, fucking look. Just look, like, and I've always been wee, even when we were Waynes. I'm 5'1", but even as Waynes, I was tiny. And I think just being so wee, around so many other big fuckers, I wasn't going to fight, and I wasn't really that funny. So I was just kind of like, look, here's me doing something, look. I just never lost that mentality, man. Still no skills, mate. No battle hardened core, mate. Just me running the book. Look at that. Try to get money off people, man. I've done it since like February 1. You give me 5p all day, I jump. Like.
He's 5p.
Had I done it, Greg, I wouldn't have fucked you. Had I done a jump and it would have been a belter. Had I jumped further than you would have imagined I ever would have, you'd have been like, I was working off IT.
Oh, I love it, man.
Why do you hold it together, man? It's going to be 40 minutes.
Oh, mate, do you know, it's we've had a lot of quite serious people on the podcast, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, is this a serious podcast?
No.
With serious people on it.
Yeah, but it seems to be anyone we podcast with in the evening kind of brings a level of joviality to the proceedings that we don't get. Yeah.
No.
So if you see me doing this face, right, you know, it's funny. Right, so tell me, apart from when you were doing jumps for 5p, when did you know that you wanted to get into acting and all that kind of caper?
Good question, man. I've never been on a podcast that's asked actual questions. Just people be like, "Would you think of Trump?" I'm like, I've got nothing. Mate. This is good. This is actual backstory, right? What's the clear memories I've got, man? Let me fucking dust them off. Primary 4, mate. Not primary 1, mate. Primary 1. I was Joseph in the school show, and that was pretty much the best role you could hope for, man. Because it was basically Jesus and Joseph, and Jesus was a doll. So Joseph was the next best role. Was it anything to do with my Middle Eastern heritage that I was unaware of at the time?
Did you have a beard? Did you have a beard in P1?
It gave me a fake beard, man, but yeah, people didn't know. Adults were asking me for directions and that. Oh, sorry, you're winning it. I thought you some went here. Point being, I was in the school show and I was upstaged by Mary, who was picking her nose, and that's all the family talked about, you know. Oh, there she was picking her nose, and I was like, I can't let that happen again. Year 2, I get put as a shepherd. Fuck that, I'm not being a shepherd, man. And then by primary 3, mate, I got to play the little angel, right? Fucking, this wasn't even like a class play, mate. This was a school-wide play called the Little Angel. And we had a sled and all that. There was 2 Waynes playing reindeers, you know what I mean? And there was only one Little Angel, mate. So there was only 50 Waynes in the full school. And I was there, mate. Tights on, pure white tights, right? We bulge sticking out for sure. Big set of wings, wee halo made of tinsel, rubbing my head, getting eczema and that. But I was the Little Angel, mate. For fuck it, a whole half an hour, mate. I had a cold. My mum always told me, you had a cold and you still done it. I don't remember it, mate. But
when professional.
When they put the fights on me, man, it was over. It was a bargain scene.
I don't even know what to say to that shit, man. Right, so I was watching some of your stand-up stuff today down in Liverpool.
Oh, wow, no. Oh, right. How did you find it, man?
Just Google your name, mate.
Just Google my name, because you know what, mate? There's a lot of shit I say in that set, mate, that I didn't quite realise in the heat of the moment that it was going to go online, mate. So I think I directly call out my uncle for having 2 wives, man. And it'd be alright if I was just like, oh, my uncle, but I think I gave like his name, man, and like first and last name, and I'm like, it comes out when you're on stage and it's a laugh, but when there's a wee camera filming you, I'm like, if my uncle ever sees that, he'll be like, why are you outing me, bro? And I'll be like, I'm sorry, mate, I was trying to get a laugh, mate. I throw you and your wives under the bus to try and get a laugh.
Somebody gave me 5p, I had to do it.
My favourite bit of that was that one's for cooking and cleaning, and you can tell what one's for cooking and cleaning.
You know that's pure true, Norman. You know that's absolutely based in truth, man. I'm dealing with it's been a bit of a weird one, man, because obviously all the comedies went offline, right? And people keep sending me videos, just shit that I'd forgot on the internet, and some of them, mate, some pretty racist shit that I'm saying, like, it's undeniably racist, like, and I get, you need to, that's how it goes, man, we learn and we look back, but because I'm not putting out any new stand-up content, I'm worried that I'm just being orbited by racial slurs that I've said, and they're all going to come back, and I'm going to need to find God or something, because see if you find God, and somebody's like, did you say this? You're like, oh, found God, mate. That was before I found God, mate. Sorry, like, that doesn't count. I'm a recovering racist, mate. I know I'm admitting to my past. I'm trying to get better.
I'm going back to my roots as Joseph of Nazareth.
I don't know this. Taryam, did you say his name was? Never heard. I know that's a constant stress to live with, man. So I'll say right now, man, on the CDDC podcast, man, that, you know, if you see me saying any shit that seems a wee bit on the edge of, you know, let's cancel this weekend, I just know that I do art classes for kids now. That's no training.
T, my favourite bit was the thing about you getting ID'd for a bath bomb. That was brilliant, mate. That was so funny, mate. I swear to God.
Look, I thought that I'd wrote that, right? I thought I was like incredible joke, man. I was like, you know, racism's getting ridiculous. I even get ID'd for a bath bomb. And my favourite thing about that joke was there was a wee pause after it. You'd go bath bomb and they'd go, who the fuck's he talking? Oh, it's like a bath bomb! No, man! I get that. And then I came off stage one day, I think it was in England somewhere, and one of the comedians was like, oh, you doing the bath bomb joke? And I was like my bath bomb joke, and he was like, oh yeah, no, a lot of people do that, yeah, the bath bomb joke, yeah. And I was like, oh shit, hold on, the buzzer just went, do I need to answer that? I don't know, like, I'll take his way, mate. Are you got it, mate? I didn't even know Ben was in. Great, cut that bit out. The bath bomb joke, mate, the bath bomb joke. So I found out that it was like, it's just the way he said it, man, made me lose all confidence in it. But that happens all the time, man. Like, somebody will come up to you and be like, I've got this idea for a joke, and they say it, and you're like, that's the here in like the 1970s and shit, and they're like, really? And you can see them going, am I still going to say it? I don't know, what's your call, man? If you write about a joke for the purity of your soul, and then you find out it's already out in the world, what would you do?
I think as well, it's becoming increasingly difficult to come up with original stuff, I would imagine. It's the same with music as well, do you know what I mean? I think how many times people have inadvertently copied guitar riffs and all that kind of thing, and you know, do you know what I mean? And it's for you guys, it must be really difficult because obviously, especially for topical comedians, you know, if everyone's all going after the same subject matter, there's going to be an overlap.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely, man. And I watched this on a Mark Ronson TED Talk, so I know what I'm talking about here. But with music, what happened was like they could started sampling it. So you could sample music and fade out one sample, you could create an entire new song. And I guess there is a way to do that in comedy, man. But it's such a much, because there's no legalities in comedy. You can just literally, if you see something you like, you can be like, I'm going to take that and I'm going to say that, and there's nothing they can really do. There's no any sort of legal dispute about it, man. At least in music, you can take a sample and you can be like, all right, I need to buy this off them, I need to rent it. I wish we could do that with jokes. I wish I could get a hold of some 40-year-old Asian comedians and be like, bro, just pass me down your golden ones. Like, I'll let them know it was you.
Let me rub the lamp. Let me rub the lamp.
Give me the juice.
I suppose as well, but it's like, see, like obviously now, all the everybody's recording stuff and putting content out there. Mm-hmm. Whereas like back in the day, that just wasn't a thing. Like, I mean, for people to actually have your stuff recorded, you had to be on a date at a TV show or something. You know what I mean? So it must be difficult.
I spoke to Raymond Mearns about this. We've done like a wee video where we were talking about the difference in my day in comedy and his day in comedy, and he was talking about like looking up the phone book and having to phone people and be like, can I get a spot? And they'll be like, I'll see you Tuesday at 6. But for me, when I started comedy, man, like obviously when you first start comedy, there's people advising you, but you're just fucking guessing, man. You're like, I guess this is what we do. So I was taking my shows and I was filming them. I put my first one online, I put my second one, third one, fourth one online. And the people that saw it liked it. Like my friends and family and people that were on my Facebook, they seen it, they liked it. I quite enjoyed that. But every like elder comedian, was a experienced comedian that seen it was like, don't do that, don't put your shit up. And I was like, oh, that's the man trying to hold me back, bro. My jokes are so lethal with the internet theorem. It's over. But what they were saying was, like learn your craft, like. Yeah. Don't jump in and don't expose your practice. Like, tell people and build a rapport in that, but don't show your jokes before you've even learned how to make them. And that made a lot of sense to me. But on the other side of that, the only reason I got such a following was because I put shit on social media constantly. Yeah. And because we're just like, oh, I've seen the thing you were in, and I put a video up and 2 people would message me and go, oh, we've got a gig here and we've got a gig here. So, like, that was a massive fucking part of the only reason I got gigs. But I'd say if I went back, I would wait a couple of months before I started putting shit online, man. But
yeah, I think as well, it's a transition between the way people go about things now to fucking you look for a fag here. So, for anyone listening to this, I just saw him making a weird fucking
I was asking for a jazz roll-up, if you must know, Greg. I was just asking if after this podcast there could be a jazz roll-up prepared for me.
Right, okay. That's all right, mate. Listen.
My gran might listen to this.
No, what I was saying is that there's probably what you were saying about the kind of more experienced comics. They're probably still operating under the mindset of what they know, whereas what you were saying is, well, the kind of new breed of people who are getting exposure because they're doing the thing that flies directly in the face of what is held the other guys have kept back. Do you know what I mean?
Completely, man. And there's no leader, man. There's nobody guiding it. There's nobody showing you this is how you put a video up, this is how you do it. You're just fucking guessing. So all the like younger comedians at my level that are constantly having to put out content, and we are like surrounded, but you pilot like hundreds of content yourself, like daily and consistent like shit, putting it up. That's the only way to build a following and audience. Yeah. But when you're a comedian, you can't like I always compare it to like it's like getting a jar. I can't say always compare it to like because that makes it sound like I've said this before. I've never said this before, right? But follow me on this metaphor. I don't want to lie to you. I'm trying to stop lying. So I start telling the truth now. That's what Jesus said. So imagine this metaphor, right? You got a big jar of bees, right?
All right. I'm waiting.
The sides are completely blacked out, right? So the bees are in there, but it's blacked out. And then you're walking about with this jar, and you're showing it to people, and you're going, "This is a jar of bees." And they're like, "Is it?" And you go, "Aye," right? And you take the lid off to show them in, and you let them look at the bees, and you're like, "Look, they're there." And they go, "Ah, fuck, so they are." But one wee bee flies out every time you open it.
Right. Okay.
So if you walk about with this jar and you're showing everybody, look at my jar of bees, look at my jar of bees. Doesn't matter how much you shake that fucker up. If you've showed it to too many people, when you open it, there's going to be no buzz.
Oh! Mate, that was poetic.
Thank you.
I like that.
Never have I been so excited to hear a metaphor in my entire life. I was just like, where is this going? I love it.
I love it. There's no buzz.
My tombstone, man. I might never say anything better than that. I might never say anything better than that in my entire life.
I loved the laughter in the background as well. That was epic. It just kind of resonated through my barnet. That was good. Right. So we had on comedy magician Elliot Bibby.
Bibby, what a professional boy, I tell you. I don't know if that's a compliment or not, but he's a professional boy.
Fucking sorcerer, that's what he is, man.
Oh, mate.
Blew my tiny mind.
Swear to God, man.
Let him hypnotise a guy. Actual hypnotise him.
Mate, he made a pen just disappear in front of my face. It was the most... Of all the stuff he showed me, to this day, I want to know where the fuck that pen went.
Where'd that pen go, man?
Mate, it was just like, you need to watch this pen. Boom, gone. I swear to God, mate, it was like, you know when you watch David Blaine for like the late 90s, early 2000s, and you get those black guys just losing their fucking mind on the street? Yeah. I was that guy.
We're in culturally tense times, but I can guarantee you I would always rather do magic for a black audience than a white audience, man. Anytime I've showed black people magic, they get a wonderful reaction, man. With white people, they always say the same shit. They go, "How did you do that?" Like the joke, like the trick hasn't even resonated, hasn't even settled. They're like, "That's good. How'd you do that?" They just, but black people take time to appreciate it and go, "Oh shit, that's magic." I don't know. You know what?
Fucking white people, am I right?
Fucking
white people, bro.
Magic tricks. Can I get a thumbs up? Is that racist? It's like a middling thumb. Okay.
Fuck it, you're right.
It's alright, mate. You're amongst friends, it's fine. Right, so also you were during your stand-up stuff that I'd seen, you were saying that you were born and raised in the south side of Glasgow. So what part of Glasgow are you from?
Castlemilk, man. Born and bred, I see Milk Ned.
All right, cool. Right, right, okay. So I was born in Denniston, mate. But
Denniston, man. We stayed in Denniston for a couple of months, man.
I mean, I was there when it was still kind of looked as if it was in the Second World War, but it was a bit of a wild time. But you were talking about just with your upbringing and how everyone thought the Johnny was your dad. And so talk to us about your upbringing in Castlemilk, man, because it's no easy for the best of folk. Do you know what I mean?
The story of my upbringing is absolutely mental, man. So my granddad was in the army, right? And he was in Abu Dhabi, and he was there training Arab soldiers because the British military and the UAE government had an agreement that the British were going to come in and train these Arab soldiers, right? So my granddad was there, and he was like, try to train them, but they were like, oh, I don't want to be trained. My father is very rich. I don't have to do any running. And my granddad was like, you fucking run, wee man. You fucking run. So eventually, at that conflict, they were just like, right, the Arabs don't want to run, and you don't want to have to tell them to run all day. Let's just patch it. So my granddad went to live in Abu Dhabi. Like, they were paying for his house. They were giving him like rations and shit for the military. He was living his life up in there, man, and his family came there. So that's my gran and mama went to Abu Dhabi, and they were all living there, right? How the fuck did we get from Abu Dhabi to Castlemilk? My great grand and all that family, they've always lived in Castlemilk. They've lived in Castlemilk their whole life, right? And while my mom was in Abu Dhabi, she got pregnant by the hands of an Arab. She had to get flown.
Is that?
Back to Castlemilk.
I didn't realise that's how Arabs impregnated people with their hands.
By the hands! By the hands! Jazz hands, we invented that shit.
Right, okay. Right, so, sorry, carry on.
I just had to go through Abu Dhabi back to Castlemilk, man. And then to there, like, her and my dad gave a go at it, and it didn't work out. Because it was Abu Dhabi, man. He'd never seen Castlemilk, you know? Like, what's going on here? It's like, it's partly a wee joke, but it's also a wee story, so I'll kid on. It's an improvised story here. But the story with my dad was my Arab dad was hanging about with one of my white uncles, and they walked by some flats, and somebody shouted something to my uncle, and he was like, what the fuck did you say to me? And my dad was like, no, man, you didn't say anything to you. Like, it's okay. And my uncle, like, I would say it's incriminating, but he didn't know it sound. He grabbed a hammer, right, and he bounced upstairs. And he came back down, and he was covered in blood, and he walked up to my dad, and he was like, do you want to go get a chippy? My dad was left standing there like, oh, what's that chippy?
What's that chippy?
I love it.
So anyway, so my dad went back to Abu Dhabi, and then I was born, so it was a single mom, and I was Brown Wayne, a single white mom, Castlemilk. I was the only one. There was other families. There was Asian families. There always had been, but in Castlemilk there was not one single like white mom with a mixed race son, at least within 2 streets in my area.
Within 2 streets.
I wasn't allowed to do it much, man. So when I was growing up in Castlemilk, like when I went to school, I was like the brownest guy in the school. So for the first when I say like for the first years of my life, I was black. I don't say that as like a joke. I was actually like the black guy. Like if we were looking through textbooks and there was any black person, they'd look at me and point, and I'd be like, yep. Absolutely. It wasn't racist, mate. It wasn't bullying, but they would come to me for oh, tell me about black culture, tell me about, rap music. And I was like, okay, I was wearing bandanas and shit. I had to live up to my African roots. I was fucking gutted when I found out I wasn't black. I was gutted. Honestly, and then I went through the transition, and then there was a certain word that rhymes with trachea that we're not allowed to say anymore, and it was like, for that in high school, it's like, oh, you're a trachea, and I decided, I took that on, and I was like, all right, I'm a trachea, and then all my pals from Pakistan were like, what the fuck are you out you're doing? You cannot call yourself that. And I was like, but they were calling me, and they're like, doesn't matter, mate, you can't call yourself that. So I was like, whatever, man. So eventually, I've just had to settle mixed race, which is the worst one, man. That's not exciting, No, if you could be African or Pakistani or just mixed race, could mean anything, mate. It could be mixed Swedish and Irish, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No exciting, man. No exciting at all. What was the question? Greg?
It was just basically, so what I was trying to get at is, Is that like is that Ofcom that are sitting just off
I'm getting a less racial, like, as there. I've hired somebody to sit in the corner of the room, and if it gets to too racist, they just put the horn up, and I just lower it.
That's all right, mate.
I love it.
Because I get excited, man. I get buzzing, and I start saying shit that's illegal, and then it just like, but I never mean badly. I never mean bad. But it
You know
comes
the best thing? I think you're probably the first guest ever that we've had on that's had a designated podcast coach.
Oh,
my lawyer in the corner like,
do you know what's funny? We've got a friend who is Chinese, mate, right? And he talks about, he's a fucking hot dog, yeah, boy, but he's
Is it Chris CK?
No.
Then never mind.
But he talks about what it was like for him growing up. So he's Lanarkshire, and he was in a similar situation to you, that he was the only one that wasn't just a white Caucasian. Do you know what I mean? And he just talks about how it's shaped the way he goes about his life now. Do you know what I mean? And I can, although it's a bit of bravado and stuff like that with you, but it definitely has attributed to your personality. Do you know what I mean? That it's always larger than life character, and it's the same with him. He kind of overcompensates a bit more. He tries to be everybody's pal, like push himself forward. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the only reason I sound like this much of an Ed is because at one point, like when I was younger, my mom taught me to speak very proper. So I'd be like, "Miss, may I please use the bathroom?" and all that. And I think of it like eventually, I remember there being a point where I was like, I need to blend in here. So I was like, oh, fuck's sake, mate. Like, we're playing football in the pitch and that. And my mom had to be like, what the fuck's happening here? And then eventually it balanced out to this. But whenever I go abroad event, man, and I start talking to people and this starts flying out, it's a combination of the Glaswegian and the ADHD. It just sounds like, so I can understand why, like, if you, like, compensating and want to blend in with everybody, because I think that urge is there, man, and then it reaches a certain point where then it's like, it's cool to be different, and everybody's like, oh man, I wish I was brown, and I'm like, fucking too bad for you, mate. You had your chance.
You had your chance.
Your mother made a decision. She made the wrong one.
I love it.
Fucking hell, man. Right, so you're talking about your accent there, right? So when you were 18, you went across to Abu Dhabi and embraced the other side of your family. How did they understand you when you were like, "It's happening, troops"?
They just didn't understand me. They just couldn't. So I went out, and our family have all got American and Canadian accents because they learn English for Canadian and American people.
Right. Okay.
So, but they obviously don't know they've got American and Canadian accents. They think they're just speaking English.
Yeah.
My wee sister's going to be like, "We don't have an American accent," and I'll be like, "That's literally it." And she'd be like, "No, T-Bone, why are you like?"
T-Bone.
I know. I think T-Bone, man, ridiculous, man. But yeah, no, I've got like an American Glasgow accent that I put on when I'm out there, and I done 2 gigs in Abu Dhabi, and the first one, I'd been in the club for a while, so I'd settled in and I had my kind of accent in gear, and I was kind of like, "Hey guys, how are you? How you doing?" And then the second one, I was on first, so I just pretty much arrived, and I was like, "How you doing? Oh, how's it going?" Went up on stage, and like I came off stage, and one of the comedians was like, "Love your energy, love your passion. Only understood about 50% of what you said." And I was like, she's like, "And let me tell you, so did the audience." And I was like, "Oh, that's why I was beginning to do the rap, because they're literally going instead of being like, la."
So, tell me about your comedy inspiration then. What you were saying before, you didn't really have a framework to anything that you were doing, but there must have been somebody you think that is particularly funny that has maybe shaped the way you do things, even in a subconscious way. I
remember very closely Live at the Apollo. We all watched Live at the Apollo, and we all had our favourites, man. Think about that whenever they come on. But I remember once it was Stephen K. Amos came on. I've been quoting him like fuck recently, because in that he goes like, "I'm in the shit stage of growing an afro," which I am in the shit stage of growing an afro. So I've been quoting it constantly. But I remember in that he came out and he had like a kind of African accent, and he was putting on this like character. But I thought that was him. And then midway through, I think Russell Peters did it as well. But I'd never heard of Russell Peters at this point. I just remember him being like, had this accent. And there's like, can't do it, mate. Can't keep it up. And I was like, whoa! Like I remember being like young, going, oh shit! Like what the fuck was that? Like I'd never seen that in my life. And I remember being like, oh shit, I want to do that. Like I want to go and kids on to be to somewhere else and then just switch into like, whoa. But I didn't. I should have, man. It would have been funny that I plagiarizing, you know. It comes full circle. There's your art, man. There's your art.
Smashed it.
So stepping away from comedy, tell us about your acting, and is it something you plan to go back to?
Acting, man, right, that's an interesting one. That's a super interesting one. I can't say super. When did I start saying super? Never said that in my life, won't say it again. But acting, man, so it's like, so what happened was when I was about 10 years old, I started going to a drama club at the school, out of the town. And then at one point, like, the BBC contacted that drama club and just literally went, have you got any little Asian boys? Like, we've got an Asian family here. We need a little Asian boy. Do you have any? And they were like, we've got 2. So my chances were 50-50 on it, right? It was 50-50. And I got it. That guy, other guy. I don't know where he is. I don't know where he's up to. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm good. God bless him. But, so that was me. That was me, man. I was set. And I started acting like, and I fucking hate talking about it, mate. You need to understand that, see, anytime I've talked about being on River City, fair being on it, there's a wee voice in my head that every time I say the word River City goes, oh, I'm fucking talking about River City, you've been fucking on the telly, dang it. It's there, it's right there. I can't even talk about it without hearing it, man. But, yeah, so I was 13 through to 17, I was on River City, which was weird as fuck. I was like shite. I was on telly when I was like 14, man. You know, like I didn't need to go to school. Instead of going to school, I went to go put on another school uniform for a fake school and get paid to kid on I was going to school down in Dumbarton, man. That was lovely, mate. It was life changing, right? But what happened was, see, because I got that job when I was 13, I was like, oh. So that's how you get acting jobs. They just come easily, and you just roll into them. Somebody will go, I need an Asian, and you go, oh, that's me. Because I had no context. I went for one audition, I got it and get 3 years of work. So I was like, oh, this industry's fucking shit easy.
As long as I stay a little Asian boy, I'm getting all the work.
I keep taking the beard off, definitely. I'm still a boy. No, I came out, man, and I was just like, obviously the acting industry, as everybody else knew, is heavy hard. It's heavy difficult. So I'm just saying, you need to put years of work and graft in. But I kind of found that out, and I was like, oh, I don't know if this is for me. Yeah, I'm gonna kind of slip out. But it's in me, man, and I love it, and I love doing it, man. But I couldn't. I don't know. Being an actor, man, you're just waiting. You're waiting constantly. When's the big role coming? When's this big job coming? Oh, I've got an audition. Oh, I didn't get it. Oh, I've got an audition. Oh, I might get it. Oh, I didn't get it. That, for me, where, like, I need to do shit. I want to go out and do shit. And every day I need to be doing shit and making shit. And I just couldn't do it with acting, man. I didn't have it there. Like, I thought for a while I was going to be, like, a DIY guy. So I started making chairs and that. I was like, oh, chairs and that. But after a bit of weeks, chairs and that. After about a week, I was like, this isn't for me. This is great. I get why people love it. I could probably make chairs. I don't want to. That's kind of how I feel about acting, man. I'm like, this is great. I might need to make a chair. I might need to play a role. But I'm going to find something else today, and I'll come back and sit on the chair / be an actor when I'm done.
Well, Jesus was a carpenter, wasn't he?
Yeah, mate. And you know who else was a carpenter, mate?
The Carpenters. Who?
That's it, Joseph. It's come full circle.
Come on. There is your arc. The only arc. The arc of
couple of arcs, mate. Simultaneous arcs. That's what we've got, mate. I love it.
You never get religious on the podcast.
We try not to. It's one of the. It's such a divisive and. Yeah, we don't really want to split the audience. I mean, because Chris is a Catholic. And, I know, mate. And
outed, bro. On your own podcast.
I know.
No, I find it dead. I love talking about and you meet any trippers, you're like, oh, let's talk about mad shit, man. But as soon as you start talking about God, people check out, man, and I check out. See, when somebody starts talking to me about like Jesus Christ, I'm like, get out my face, mate. But you want to talk to me about the cosmic karmic flow of the universe, mate? Oh, light up a jazz flag and we'll be there for the next 7 hours. But can't sit and talk about Jesus all day, mate. I can't equate the two.
No.
The question, man. Where were we on?
No, listen, mate. Listen, we're all for tangents and anecdotes and all that kind of stuff. Because basically your personality just seeps through, mate. Do you know what I mean? So we can just fucking sit here and you can just talk at us if you want.
I'd love to, mate. I'd love to. There's a wee voice in my head when I'm doing these things that goes, say terrible shit. Pure terrible shit. Same way you're on the gaff and you're trying to get people to go, fuck's sake, mate, right? That's in my head constantly. So the longer these things run, the more I'm like, make a joke about Mother Teresa. And I'm like, no, don't make anything. Leave it, mate. Leave it out.
Fuck did Mother Teresa ever do to you, by the way?
Fuck him, man.
The lawyer's just left. The lawyer's he's like
he's on Instagram, man. He's touched.
Right, so after your period on River City and stuff like that.
I don't like talking about it, mate.
It's alright, don't worry, we'll skip past River City. No, but what I was wanting to talk to you about was the stuff you've done for BBC The Social.
Yeah, absolutely. Loving The Social, mate. Social being fucking quality, mate. Would you like to know? You didn't really ask a question and I cut you off.
That's alright. No, I mean, for one, how did you get involved with them? And two, do you think it's been advantageous for your exposure?
I went to journalism college for a while, man. Done a year of journalism college, and then, same with the chairs. I was like, I can get why you got to write stories, but this isn't for me, man. And so I ended up my lawyers try to... The Mother Teresa thing? The Independent, the New York Times, had really good articles about how Mother Teresa wasn't a what? Mother... You've watched Joe Rogan. This is like Jamie, bring me the shit on Mother Teresa. Bring up the Mother Teresa shit, Jamie. They done article. Mother Teresa's a fraud. They're a fraud. Jamie, give me the Catholic Church. Give me the church on the phone. Wow, that's fucking. There you go, mate. Mother Teresa's sad, disturbing legacy. You heard it here first. I don't know what you think it is. Cheers, mate. That's New York Times, mate. That's much more reputable than us. Yeah. Cheers, mate. That was a great interjection. Couldn't I interject if you do anything better?
Cheers, Jamie.
Mother Teresa, mate. I stand by it. Cheers. Shout out my lawyer, Ben, man. Ben, lawyer. Killing it. Greg, before we go, I've on that tangent, mate. What was the question?
Oh, fuck me, man. Right. What I was asking you was... The social.
The social, mate. The social. Of course.
The social.
The social.
Yeah.
I've put up a video about Mother Teresa, mate. Let's bring her down. The social. I went to journalism college, mate. I went and I was like, I don't want to be a journalist, mate. So I dropped out 3 times, but there was a lovely lecturer there. The pass mark was 30. I got 31, right? Do you know what I'm saying? She was like, you're sound. She likes all my shit on LinkedIn. We're good. So I met my pal there. I met my pal there when we were at journalism college, and she was doing shit in the BBC. She was doing like an internship, and she's like, "Do you want to do some video stuff?" And I was like, "I'm man, absolutely." And I was out with my lawyer and me. We were shooting videos. We were like, it was a laugh. We were coming up with ideas. I was getting people in to film sketches, and it was great, man. It just kept pouring out. And then we started doing like more factual stuff. So I was actually learning shit. Cause I don't know if you know, but I know fuck all, right? So I love knowing basics. I only found out it's bad to do Nazi salutes in the last 2 months, man. I didn't know you could get a £50 fine. No, I knew Nazis were bad, mate. I'm not saying I'm a fool. I just didn't realise the actual act of doing the salute is like a £50 fine and you're not supposed to do it. Nobody ever told me that. So I only discovered this recently.
Yeah, but believe it or not, the Germans don't like it either. So I've got a friend of mine. I got a friend of mine. Well, so I was in the army, right? And I was posted out in Germany for a while. And we were in Mönchengladbach, right? We're going down this street in Mönchengladbach, and one of my pals, I say a pal, he was an acquaintance. He was out in the street and he started walking up and down, doing the old goose step and the Nazi salute and all the rest of it. And then, like, literally, the guy he maybe lasted about a good 15 steps, and the police just came out of the woodwork, and the guy turned up the next day, all sorts of different colours, mate. He was absolutely battered. Like, that was like maybe my first 3, maybe 4 weeks of being in Germany. I was like, note to self.
Note to self, man.
Don't do that.
It's one of these things you wouldn't think today, but you wouldn't realise the severity.
Yeah, it's to be like, stupid, you'd be like, here, big man, you know what would be hilarious right now? See if you just start goose step. Yeah, you're right.
No, man. And do you know what? It was at a show where it was like an improv show, and somebody put in the hat like Hitler, and I was like, all right, so we talk about Hitler and that, but then I started doing the salute, because I was like, boo. But then I kept doing it to the point where again they were like, hey! So I took them under. I was like, hey! I took them in and then right back up. What was the point? Greg, damn it, Greg! Why did you let me get off on this?
You were talking about things. You were talking about things that you have learned, like the environment and recycling were the two things that I saw.
Absolutely, man. So I started trying to learn shit. I overstepped that one. I made a video about gods, man, and there was a wee bit at the start. It was mad, man. There was a wee bit at the start where I said, I'm going to use the word God here. But what I actually mean is more just sort of kind of interconnected intelligence. But to cut that bit out, so it just made it look like I was like, God. And it keeps getting shared, and I'm like, I don't stand by anything that I said in that, man. Honestly, I want pure piss, but that was me finding the balance. I was like, right, I'm learning shit, I'm putting shit out, and I was like, I was just fucking do it about no, bring it back. So I was like, recycling, let's take an easy old one on in the environment, and then we'll go for that. But it's been great, man. It's been quality. It's the only thing I can think of for young people who put content online that can get like money for doing daft sketches or making videos. Like I can't think of anywhere else unless you like build a following on YouTube and all that. There's nobody got, hey, you give us your ideas and we'll give you money for them. That's cracking. Tell you what about the BBC and the content the social puts up. It is a platform for people who make shit to put their shit out to. If I've got a video and I put it out to my like couple of hundred followers and it gets like 7 likes, they're like, all right, or I put it on this fucking massive platform. Half the people in the comments are like, fuck this wee dick, man. What's he talking about? But, you know, a bunch of people that see it are going to go, okay, yeah, that's quite nice. I entertain somebody while they shit for like 3 minutes. and you never hear from them. They don't comment having a lovely shit from the Philippines, lots of love. They don't say that. But the people who are going, fuck this guy, they're there in the comments. But you don't get the people that just enjoy it, man. So, yeah, I'd say I put out about like 12, 13 videos. I had some mad experiences with the social folk, man. It's been quality, and I'd recommend it. Tell you what I get though. Tell you what, a lot of people, man, they come and they're like, oh, what's an idea I could do for the social? And I'm like, you realise you're asking me to do my job description, but tell it to you so you can go do it. I'm like, make your own shit. And I don't know what to do. And I'm like, what do you think? My ideas, mate. No idea how often that happens, man. People just being like, are you getting ideas for a video I could do? I've never met you. I don't know who you are. I don't have any ideas, mate. I'm sorry. Here's an idea. Fuck off. Sorry, mate. Ranting. I'm venting.
Mate,
this has been a real journey, man.
Get it.
All sorts.
Let the three wise men. Let the 3 wise men, mate. The journey of the 3 wise men. That's us.
We're traveling on camels back to the Arab stuff, man. It's all
mate.
Yeah, just cut out any bits that are going to come back to haunt me in 4 years. That's all I ask, man. I honestly, the minimum that I have. I'll leave. I'll show you what, as long as it can't get used against me in a court case. That's all I'm asking.
So what I was going to say to you was that everything you put out on the social, and you were saying obviously people are like, who the fuck's this wee dick? See, when you're ever doing stand-up, has the stuff you've done for the social, impacted on the way people react to you when you're doing stand-up?
There's definitely a crossover between like people kind of going, I know his face for somewhere to stand up, and going, I know his face somewhere to the social. I think that overlaps, man. It's never quite I've got Taryam, how you doing? Of course, how's your art career coming on? It's always, did I go to school with you, or I recognise you, and I was like, have you ever been to any comedy? I go to here and there, or I was like, oh yeah, that wee guy, mate, I'm that wee guy.
That's exactly what Chris said. See, when we were talking about us before we had actually made contact with you, Chris, like, I know that cunt's face for somewhere.
100%. I was like, I've seen this guy before, and then I was like, I've seen, it's a funny dude, man. I've seen this guy.
I'll tell you once, man. I was sitting in a gaff, right, and this wee guy was talking to me, and he's like, oh, what college did you go to? And I was like, oh, I went to Motherwell College, and he's like, oh, I know someone from Motherwell College, and I was like, all right, and then he proceeds to tell me a story about a guy from Motherwell College getting up to some shenanigans, and he gets to the end, and he's like, I think his name was like Taryam or something, and I was like, that's me, mate. I've not been to college in 3 years. How long have you been telling this story to people? How long have you been telling this story to us about me? And then when I said, he was just kind of like, and I was like, that's all right, mate. I hope you keep telling it, mate. I appreciate it, but you could have fucked
you rascal.
and I wish that to be my legacy, man. It's just the echo of a story from a whisper down the road. That's all I do, man. Maybe I went to school with, who knows. So I know it's been good, man. And it was definitely like they were putting on posters like star of the social, and I was like, you can't be a star for a video you make yourself, but don't let the audience know that, man. And it definitely helped. Man. You never know how other people perceive you at the level that you're at. You only know the stage that you're at and how far you've got to go. Yeah. But I can definitely say that having like different, and even just like Facebook videos, man, I've been there for like daft shit for years. I caught a bus driver pissing in a bottle once. People still come up to me in the street and they're like, "Made you caught a driver pissing in the bottle?" I'm like, absolutely. And that was like a fucking a video for years ago, man. And if that shit just keeps circling, just keeps coming back, that's all I do. Just put out mad shit and it will come back. To balance out all the bad shit that's coming back, some funny shit that comes back.
Do you know what I would love to see? I would love to see you and Gregor, what do you think of that, having a conversation?
It's animated, man. It's animated.
Mate.
Whenever I seen the Ouija boys, it was always before and after shows, so it was like,
I swear to God, man, see Gregor, it's just his face cracks me up, man. He's so funny.
I seen the other day, he's like, I'm a wee tea cake. I was like, is that brilliant? I'm like, I don't.
Is that because you're brown on the outside and white on the inside? Sorry, T, you can have that one, mate. You can have that one.
I'll add it to the list. Next social video, man. Racism among podcasters. Fuck with me. I've got a team.
So, Chris, I think you told me, was it the Rotunda you'd seen T playing?
Yes, it was. It was a Rotunda. It was like New Year, and I think it had been a couple of guys going on there and just absolutely died in their arse. Just, it's one of those ones. It's a wee bit awkward, like when you're sat there and you're like willing them to be funny, and then T came on and was just an absolute laughter vampire and just hoovered it all up and just absolutely bombed, man. It was absolutely killed me. It was amazing. It was probably one of the best sets of the night.
Cheers, the Rotunda audience, man. They could be spicy now and again, man. They could be. We used to do the gong shows, which is every comedian gets a minute to perform, and if the audience don't like you, the way they vote you off is just go boo, boo. You comedians and all that. They get 1 minute slots, and then they come up. Any of you guys ever heard of Pollock Shields? Why isn't it called Pollock Swords? So it's gone, and they were gone. And we used to do them, man, and you would see them just leathering through these young comedians, man. Like, notice that I'm always, but like.
So here's the difference between men and women.
But a friend of mine once went on, she's got an English voice accent. She's English. She went on, she's like, hello. and people were like, boo, like straight away. Horrible. But I know that there's been some of the ones that you do and you see the gong shows and it's just deed, because you're talking like 17, 20 people on some nights, and it can be failed, smashes the audience. You're like, it's not going to get better than that. And then it's like that one guy doing good picks up the momentum for the rest of the people that come after, because the audience are warmed up and it's built up. But if you're in if you're doing a show and the audience are like, they're not reacting to it, and then you've not got a strong opener or a strong somebody in the middle, and you're just sitting there like, when I was in the early stages, man, I was just trying to like compete with everybody. So every show I went to, I was like, I need to be top 2 funniest on this show, or I'm going to burn the venue down. So I was like, so I was getting like committed. So when I was there shows and people weren't doing well, the egotistical part of my head was going, Deeds, cool, like, close them off, right, cheesy, right, cool, close it, right, here's my time, and that's a horrible way to work, because when people come off stage after dying, you're like, sorry about your death there, mate, and you're like, wah! And then there's all, like, I think after a certain while you just realise it's much better if you actually, when you're on with other comedians, you're just like, let's all try to do the best we can, man. Instead of, like, there's always going to be subconscious competition, but, like, I think just, let's try to have a laugh, mate. See what I'll buy you a biscuit. Let's see what happens. That's probably the best way to do it. I think that's probably what I found in my time, man, is that, patch it, it's an anecdote. Greg, what were you saying?
I'm just taking in, mate. It's a full show, man. I mean, and do you know what? Beats of sweat running down the fucking face.
Look at that water bottle, man. Fucking at the edges.
What I was going to ask you about was, obviously when you're starting out as a young comedian, you don't just go into it and be amazing. Mm-hmm. So, have you got any like horrific stories of times you've been on and it's just been fucking dreadful?
Oh, constantly, man, constantly. I remember them, they hit me. I'll be sitting and I'll remember a bad joke for a show and I'll go, oh, it's like, it's in my shoulder blades, it's there. It's the comedy is the only thing where you need to repeatedly embarrass yourself in front of strangers to even get like slightly decent at it. There's very few other things like it, man, where you need to go and be embarrassed and be demoralised and go to your knees in front of randoms constantly to get any decent at it, man. That's why comedians are so bitter, man. They've all had millions of deaths constantly. Like, anytime they go up on stage, they could have a terrible night. They could have a bad gig and that's their night pride, man. And when you're first starting out, if there's anybody that's listening to this that wants to get into comedy, my advice would be search for mentors. No matter what you're doing in the arts world, there's always going to be somebody who's been where you are and can get you to where you want to go quicker by telling you exactly what they've done. And you can just model after them and you can take their advice and you can listen and you can absorb. When I started doing comedy, I went through a bunch of different mentors. I'd ask somebody like, can I just get advice? And you take the advice. And then at a certain point, they wouldn't be able to advise you anymore. Like maybe you went into a different style of comedy, or maybe you hadn't spoke much, and then somebody else would pop up, and they'd be the mentor. And I'd ask, and eventually, you settle in, and I think, for starting comedy, man, it's going to be absolutely horrible. But if you feel like it's you going into this comedy world and just try to fight it alone, you're going to end up on your ass, because there's going to be horrible nights, there's going to be horrible shows, there's going to be some of the most embarrassing moments of your life where your physiology takes there. So you're just standing on a stage embarrassed and you can't be funny because you're embarrassed. And you need to be embarrassed for as long as that set is. If it's 5 minutes, you'll get 5 embarrassing minutes. If it's 10, you've got 10 embarrassing minutes. I fucking hate being embarrassed. It's my number. You would think, when are you going to stand up, mate? When are you going to stand up? But it's my I couldn't stand it in my life. I admit I had one ready in second year when somebody was like, do you fancy, can I say her name? Let's get a fake name. Somebody was like, do you fancy Caitlin? And I was like, no. Big ready on my face, Max. I did fancy Caitlin. Anybody else I wouldn't have ready, but Caitlin I got a big ready for. And I remember there and then being like, I'm never getting a ready again. I'm never getting one again. And I don't think I've had one, man. But when you go on stage and you're on your hole, just in pain. Right, hold on. Let me tell you an actual story, man. Let me give you context for stories. Don't let me wander into the metaphysical, because we'll be here for years. Second gig, right, first gig. Let's take you back to young. Let me get a bit of coke, man. Okay. So my first gig that I done was a charity gig in Taryam in the West End. It went quite well. I had a decent show. Some of the jokes that were in that set I kept. I just never made them any better. I was like, oh, my dad's an Arab, my mom's an Arab. And I was like, and carried that for like 2 years. Loved it. But that second show that I did, because the first show went so well, I was like, I'm the fucking comedian here. I'll be telling the jokes. Thank you very much. Second gig I'd ever done. I went into a place called Will Cabaret, shut down, and I remember being like, I don't need to prepare. I don't need to look at my notes. I get my wee book here. I'll put it in my back pocket. I don't need it. I'm fucking good to go. So the woman invites me up to the stage. She's like, please welcome Taryam boy. And I'm like, hello. And there was a bar there with a soda gun. And I was like that. If you heard how loud this soda gun is, bar staff. Named it there. But bar staff. Still named it there. Bar staff. Is there any bar staff? No told a joke yet, man. The crowd are like, ah, what's going on? I'm like, boss, you get one of the bar staff out. I'm starting to sweat, man. I get stage fright. I'd never had stage fright in my life up until this point, and I'm blanking. I can't remember anything. I'm like, bar staff, is it? Somebody sprayed the gun, and they sprayed it, and it wasn't even that loud, man. And I was just like, oh, this is what? And I just absolutely froze, and I couldn't remember my jokes, so I was in my book looking for jokes, trying to like, oh, I can't. Do you ever sneeze when you're driving? You need to keep your eyes open. Achoo! Alright, okay, let me look for another one, man. And I went like, I tried something, and I was like, and eventually the MC was like, oh, we just get off. And I was like,
oh no.
Oh. And I dropped a bit in my book because I was walking away, and she's like, there's your P45, Ty. Well done. Oh. And then the headliner, Mark Nelson, who I gigged with a lot after that, I didn't understand. He went on and he was like, wow, this crowd looks tough. If only I had brought a book of jokes. And I was like, all right, cool. So I'm ostracized for the comedy community. This guy, whoever he is, fucking hates my guts. The MC fucking hates my guts. But I just didn't understand they were just making jokes.
Yeah.
It was comedy. But because I'd been in such a fragile state, I was like, well, fuck comedy, man. I'm never doing it again. I'm not going through that. P45? But it was your P45, man. I don't even want to do that thing there.
Take my ball and I'm going home.
I'm gone. Like, I remember the first time I seen the headliner after that, I was like, fuck, there he is, man. There he is. And I was just like, right. And he's like, oh, nice to meet you. Because obviously him, I was just a new spot. But to me, in my head, I was like, he hates me. He wants me gone. And it's just like an internal battle, man. Comedy's fucking horrible. I wouldn't advise it unless you need to do it. You need to do comedy. Don't do it. But if you maybe I want to get it, nah. You put your, you know, I trained as a wrestler for a while, man. And I was like, honestly, it was mental, mate. You can't fake train to be a wrestler, man. You need to fucking hit that mat. That mat's solid, man. And there'll be certain people there who are just ready to throw themselves off mats in Sheffield for a tenner. I was not. That's why I couldn't make it, man. Maybe I could have been a luchador, but I didn't make it because I wasn't willing to go down to Sheffield and get banged off a mat for a tenner. Comedy is much worse than that. You'll be down to Sheffield for free. And you take somebody with you to get embarrassed and think about it all the way back up the road. Are you ready to do that? Are you ready to do that? That's how you need to ask. You know, oh, maybe I could do a show. Maybe I'd get live with it. But are you ready to die? Are you ready to die in Sheffield, bro? That's what I say to the kids. That's why I start comedy.
Do you want to die in Sheffield?
Oh, man.
Right.
Oh, I'm not going to remember any of this. So I'm going to listen to that.
So you're talking, obviously, you've died on stage. Like, absolutely, you've come off that one. You've had an absolute nightmare. What makes you go back?
Pressure for the people around me, man. I think that might have been the original point. If what I was saying is, you need to do it with other people around you. You need to have people who you're there going, I might fucking embarrass and kill myself here. Can you please motivate me to get back into it? And they'll be like, aye. Because I had people around me going, don't get up. Just don't get up. And I was like, I need to get up. They don't want me there. I don't want to do it. It's horrible. And they were like, no, just do it again. And then that third gig was a good gig. And then for there, I was just like, all right, so you get good ones and you get bad ones. Mm-hmm. But to start with, when you have that first bad one, you're like, it's only this forever. This is all it is. Just horrible, embarrassing gigs. But I've had some of the best times in my life on stages, man. Like, completely blacking out, not remembering any of it, but knowing that you had a fucking hell of 15 minutes, it's like, it's a mad feeling, man. I meet people all the time that, I met a woman the day in town, she's like, there's a weird expectation that people that you've met at shows, like, expect you to remember them. And I need to kid on. I remember them a lot. So I met her today, and I was like, she's like, "Do you remember me for the show?" And I was like, "The comedy show."
That's the one.
Yeah, absolutely. But like, that's like, yeah, it circles back, man. It's like, if you do a gig to, even if it's like 10 people, that's 10 people that, like, if they enjoy you, I'm gonna remember you, man. It's such a weird transaction. I think it's like, I can't mind to say, but they say the comedian is the only one in the room that's facing the wrong way. And I'm like, that makes sense, man.
That is.
Yeah.
I like that. That's good.
Yeah, but what was the question, Chris, man? What was the question?
What makes you go back to?
What makes you go back? Germany, man, bigger pictures, your emotions will level you and they'll tell you that you can't do it, and you'll sit there embarrassed. And I still remember jokes. I remember doing a hungover gig in talking about a story where I woke up in a gaff and my pal was getting pumped to the couch next to me, and it's a hilarious story that I still tell to this day. I ended up like, I ran out of the room and there was a guy, and I don't know who it was, and he was like, "Why you?" Great story. I'll tell you another time. But I remember telling that on stage, hungover in Yes Bar. And it suddenly being not a funny story, but just this horrible, graphic, detailed explanation. A horrible night with me and my pal. And I remember, like, I can still feel in my shoulder blades the 7 women in the audience just being like, "What is this? Like, why did we pay £2 to come and see this?" And me knowing the whole time, like, this is terrible. I sat down for that gig. I never sat down for a gig again. I was like, I can't risk it. That gig was so bad sitting in that chair that if I sat down again, if I need to even go 10% of what that was, I'm not doing it, man. I'm not doing it. I don't know how you let it go. I don't know how you let go of the bad gigs, man. This isn't an endorsement for comedy at all, but it's been quality, man. Just keep going.
I love it, man.
If it, if even one little boy takes away for this to keep going, then we've done our jobs.
Just sat in his room looking in the mirror going, "I'm ready to die in Sheffield. I'm ready. I'm ready.
I'm ready to die in Sheffield.
I'm ready. I don't want a tenner. I'm ready to die in Sheffield.
I don't want a tenner.
I don't need it.
I don't need it, no."
So, T, what's next for you then? Like, are you just going to keep grinding that comedy fucking wheel, or are you going to?
Nah, man, I'm gonna. Here's a wonderful takeaway. Morning pages, right? You wake up in the morning, you keep a wee book next to your bed. You do 3 pages as soon as you wake up. Nonsense if you want. You can put in the lyrics to "Come On Eileen, Ed and Ed" if you want. But more times than most, what will happen is you get real insight that's been sitting in your subconscious while you slept, and you woke up and you get it out and you see it there. And a lot of my morning pages, man, I've been looking at comedy and it's been saying, like, I want to just do it for fun. The whole reason I started comedy, man, was that I wanted to do it for fun. And when it became a job and it became like, "Oh, I need to do this and I need to do that and I need to achieve this and I need to achieve that," I need joy in it, man. And suddenly all my jokes became scientific, right? This laugh goes here and this bit goes there, and I try and do that, and there's just no joy in it anymore. I want to go back and just do it. I fucking love doing it, man. I love talking to strangers. I love standing on stage and talking shit, but, just nowhere to scream between us. And I'm quite happy to do that, man. I'm quite happy to remove all the pressure. And then when people go, "Hey, you really serious about this comedy thing?" I can go, nah, man. Just doing it on weekends, mate. Come see me in Dundee. It'll be a laugh. That's it. I'm quite happy. I found my place. I'm going to just let it tick on as it ticks on. I'm going to art college, man. This is my 3rd time at college, acting, then journalism, and new art, because what else? I've tried a bunch of shit. It's either art college or wrestling school. So maybe both. I might do wrestling at the weeknights. Who knows, man? Who knows?
So when you say you're going to art college, what form of art are you talking about?
Ask me questions like that, mate. I've not been to college yet. Oh, man, I know what kind of art.
No, don't worry, I'm asked. I'm worried. No. See, now I'm recapping it, but it was a stupid question.
No, it's a good question, mate. I've been doing. I started it in lockdown. I actually started it in lockdown, man. And my girlfriend sent me a nude, and I was like, "I'm going to paint that. That's a belter, man." I started painting it. And as I was painting it, people were like, "What are you painting?" I'm like, "Oh, that's pretty good." And I was sitting in a taxi with it, driver's license, a nice portrait. I was like, my girlfriend was like showing people that, and I was like, "No, let's put it on a wall." So then for there, I started painting Mary Melman, and then I painted my pal's baby. It took me 10 days of intensive baby painting to try and get it all right, man. And then But there, it just all went, man. It just... Chris, man, get a smile on my face.
Oh.
It's like in the room with a baby. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a beautiful gift. It's a beautiful gift. So from there, I just started painting. I kept painting, man, and I've been, people have been like, here, paint my dogs, paint my lanes. I'm like, I will. Or walk in with a friggin' enamel and a big brush. I'm like, boss, there you go, done. So, as was next, why is that a company called Art Dog, right? And you go in the Art Dog app, and you go, oh, here, I should get a painting for Billy's Christmas. Bob, you send the photo away, you choose your local artist, man, Art Dog, drop it to your door and that, you know, it comes with a wee frame and all that. Billy's Christmas gift sorted, mate. It's affordable, you know, you can jump up and it's come see it in store or online.
Do you know the only reason I'm asking is I'm a photographer. That's what I do for a living when I'm not podcasting.
I take photos of my paintings, mate, because the iPhone's just no cutting it. Art Dog Studios.
Yeah, that's cool. Mate. It's next to the RSPB, isn't it?
It's in my cupboard.
It's in my cupboard. Just with hundreds of dogs just in there like that, waiting to get painted.
No, what are you saying, my photography?
I was asking what form of art you were getting into, because I myself work in the arts.
Hey man, have you been photographing for time?
So I've had my business for 10 years.
A business?
Yeah, mate.
Fuck yeah, guess who's getting late night emails from me when I've had a bottle of wine? Let me ask you about setting a business up. Let me ask you about loans and startup grants. You regret your choices, Greg.
No, listen, mate. No, listen. How old are you?
I'm 24.
Right. Okay. So you are still eligible for the Prince's Trust grant.
I've never trusted the Prince, but I'll give it a go, man. What do you do? You just apply and they go.
Yeah, well, you need to put a business plan in, and you get like $2,000 or something. Can
you just extract that clip of me talking about Art Dog, and I'll MP.
It's a digital business plan. Art Dog and that. Yeah. See if you want photo.
Up in that.
People came with a dog and I'm that buff.
How
are you going to do it? Buff.
We got a 10-step business plan. Number 1, buff. Number 2, buff.
Did you say
10, painting?
Did you say whiff?
Right. It's great, I man. What's his name is? Art Dog, man. I should TM it before I start giving it away. Jar of bees, boys. Jar of bees.
Mate, you should call it Jar of Bees.
Jar of bees, man. I can't. Have you ever looked at that video of my pal, man? He's steaming. It was one of the ones like went through like the Glasgow share pages, and he's trying to sing Jar of Hearts because like he's steaming. It's like 4 in the morning. He goes, collecting your jar of hearts, and then takes a big tumble, like smash off the pavement tumble, like a proper woof. And I can't hear Jar of anything without seeing him go like Jar, or like smash. Hilarious. I've not been able to find it. I've been trying to show people it for ages, man. I'm not asking them for it. I don't know him that well.
So who would you say has been the best comic that you've like shared the stage with? I know you're not on at the same time, but
there was a guy called Andy Askins, man. You probably never heard of him because I definitely hadn't. And he was the idea. I'm not that into comedy, man. I can't tell people that, but I've been to shows and that, and I've seen people like, this guy's fucking amazing. And I look and I'm like, don't get it, man. Don't get it. But this guy, I fucking got it, man. Like he had a guitar and he would sit and he would be silent and he would just look around the room. And he would move his fingers, just pat his fingers. Room would burst out laughing. I was burst out laughing. I think a genuine, from my perspective on it, master of comedy. He was controlling that crowd with nothing, with looks, with fixes his glasses, and they were cracking up. And then I went on and I was like, I might blow people up now. And they were like, haha. But after seeing him, I was like, oh shit, that's how this should be done, like, and I think Andy Askins, man, I've never seen his stuff. I've only ever seen that one show, but it was fucking incredible, mate. It was fucking incredible. I should have looked him up and studied him. Absolutely, shows you that I wasn't that connected to it, man. That guy's fucking incredible. You got a dent about it? No. You get 10 people on their own podcast.
I think, do you know, T, I think you're missing a trick, no doing some presenting work or something, man. See, just...
Mate, do you know how many times we say, look, we should start a podcast, man? But, you know, I just can't be off buying a mic. That's what's holding us back. That's all that's holding us back. It's just self-belief, man. Do you know any presenters? Yeah, any presenters on? I follow STV, Sophie. I don't know who she is.
So she's Chris deals with guest acquisitions. But Sophie, she's due to come on, isn't she, at some point?
Hopefully, mate. Hopefully.
Yeah. Do you know?
Pass on the message of help! Help me! It's me.
Just come on the podcast. We're all right.
Phone me in. We're like, actually, a call. Help me, Sophie. Help me say it again. I missed the rush. How do I get back?
I missed the rush. She's taking the kids off me.
App in that. We'll get an app.
I'll paint your dog. Ask her for me, how does one become a presenter? And do you need to be tall? Because I feel like I can't be right. But what if I need to share the screen with somebody that's massive and they need to tilt the camera down for me and then they need to tilt it up No, just give you a booster seat.
Give me big heels. Yeah, right. These are the questions we need to be saving for Sophie.
That's it. Sorry, we'll have a wee subsection when we talk to her. They'll be like, these are things that T wanted to know. Is it like the police where you need to be above 5'6" to be a fucking television presenter?
Absolutely. I'm just saying, man, if I'm interviewing, like, who's the guy with the big legs?
Peter Crouch.
That's right. I met him once. His legs were massive, man. I remember his thigh because I was like the same height as it. I had a sound ball for Chris Hoy, mate. I remember seeing his thigh and just looking at it like, what is that? That's a thigh and a half. What was the point? Chris Hoy.
Presenting.
If I'm interviewing Chris Hoy and then it'd be like, so Chris, how's it been? And he's like, oh no, you know, I don't know. And also as soon as I can get up my habit of trying to say shit that I'm not allowed to say, then they'll let me on STV. Until then, I need to stop just tickling weird racial slurs in when I can, man.
But you know,
just a habit.
But mate, the thing is, right? There's a place for that.
Laugh there and it made it feel like there was too much pressure on it.
No. What I was trying to say was that there's a place for that sort of stuff, but and there's also an audience for it as well. Do you know what I mean? And
Absolutely.
I think so. Not everybody wants to see the sort of perfect, polished. Do you know what I mean?
I hate it, man.
Yeah.
I hate it.
So
hey guys, I'm like, no, I'll be like, listen, right cunts, this is a fucking horrible morning for me. That's what I want to see. Now, I want to put it out, but I don't know, man. I guess like you've seen all like backlash for everything constantly, continually. I think it might just get to the point where you just do shit and you get hundreds of backlash and that's it. You'll just send it. You're just like, cool, man. That's my thing. I put my thing out. Hundreds of backlash. Still going to put it out quite happy with it. I think I'd be quite happy with that, man. Right?
Well, you look at comics like Frankie Boyle, right? And Jerry Sadowitz and all that, right? So they boys were wild. Do you know what I mean? But the criticism just like is nothing to them. Do you know what I mean? They just kind of.
I think Frankie Boyle was a good example, man. I think he was like, because there was people for the very early. I remember being young, people being like, "Shouldn't be allowed to do this. They shouldn't be allowed to do that." Just kept doing it, man. He just didn't give a fuck. He's like, "No, you know what? I'm just gonna keep doing this." And I like that, man. But I don't know. You've met MJ that you can like. You've met and you've been like, this is somebody who's just gonna batter on through, man. I tell you what, I'd love to batter on through a laptop charger. Oh, yeah, fuck. Yeah, you got a laptop charger there, though. Like a white one. Oh, yeah, dirty bastard. Hallway, mate, hallway.
Was that your granddad getting out of bed there?
That's a fucking beautiful reference. Is this going to be on the podcast, man? I don't think so. I'm just running looking for the charger. I was on this wee shelf, man. I took it off the wee shelf, but then I put it on the side of the couch. Fucking fantastic.
This is 100% be my favourite podcast. Like 100%.
It's fucking great.
Listen, I told you that I wouldn't like you, man. I'm no. I'll say it's just. I just need to get my coffee. You see, I can't hear it.
Just to let anyone know. How you doing, bro? Sarah and Jamie.
Okay. Right.
We're back.
Hello. Carry on. Frankie Boyle, controversy, absolutely. What was it before controversy? I need to stop talking about it. It's almost like I'm fucking obsessed with it, man. I want it. I'm like, I just want to get it done with. I just want a big controversy where they go, cancel him. He's a wee bastard. And then I go, oh, that's me, Kel. And then I come back and I'm like, boom, STV. That's
But I think, do you know what, you could even, you know what you're doing for the social and all that sort of stuff. There is a play, maybe not for the social because it's not quite as, I don't think you can be as...
It's the BBC, man. They need to be nice. They need to be nice.
Aye, but I mean, I think there's a place for you on Vice, I think.
Oh, perfect, man. Perfect.
Yeah.
I'd love to do. I remember there was a point in my life where I was just doing tests online. What would I do? Oh, I'll be a plumber. Nah, I'll be an actor. Oh, cheers, mate. I was like, isn't it just to me? And one that kept coming up was TV presenter. And that's why I went to journalism college, was to be. I don't think I've thought about that since I went to journalism college. That's why I got an acting and a teaching qualification, man, was so I could fucking... I swear to God, I'm not even doing a bit. I genuinely forgot the reason that I went to journalism college. I dropped out 3 times, and the reason that I went was so I could combine my acting and journalism degrees to be a telepresenter. I've just patched that thought for about 3 years. Greg, you could have just changed my life, man. You could have just changed my life.
Mate, as long as I get a shout out in Scotland today, that'll be good.
I'd like a big shout out to the CCD, the DC, Greg.
Love it.
Aye, because I genuinely think, see when you watch any of the programmes on Vice, what's that boy? Is it Kamali or something like that? His name is
Vice.
Jamali.
Vice what? Yes. Kamali? Yes. Sorry. That fucking hell, mate. I should never have moved closer to the window. Right, there we go.
Anyway, he kind of does. He does a lot of kind of controversial things. Do you know what I mean? He'll go and speak to people who have got extreme views and stuff like that, and he kind of has his own personal. There's just a guy walking behind. That's fucking brilliant, man. Is that a fucking ghost? Right.
It's the same guy that's opening his door. He's like, doing that and then coming behind my screen.
Mate, I know.
Watch your boots.
But he talks to a lot of people who have got kind of controversial views and stuff like that, and because of his ethnicity, and like yourself, he is referred to as mixed race. Do you know what I mean? And he got a lot of exposure from it. Do you know what I mean? And I think it would be a good outlet for your particular whatever the fuck it is that you are. Do you know
man, I need to do something with it, man. I can't. I don't. Tell you what, boys, I don't know if I should go to art college, man. I don't know. I'm not 100% committed. Never thought about it, and then I'm like, I don't know if that's going to do me. No, I'm getting a loan. I'm getting the SAS loan. Listen to this, man. Right? I'd accidentally ticked the wrong box on the SAS form. Applied for $1,000. I'm getting $5,000. You know where that other $4,000's gone, mate? Art dog.
Boom.
Oh.
Buff.
Boom. Do you know what, Chris? Do you know what I've just thought? Right, see if he's looking for an outlet, man. See any times that you can't do your co-presenting. I think we've found our man for the job. By
No, mate. I'd be a terrible presenter because you'd be like to the guests. So what was it like growing up in South Africa? And I was like, south direction. I had a compass when I was 5 years old. I never get a chance. No, definitely, man. I'll have some chamomile tea and I'll light some incense, man, and I'll come on nice and chilled and I'll do a Northern Irish accent just to do
I love it.
Oh. Right, okay, gentlemen. I'm going to we'll call the podcast a day there.
20, man. What a thing.
Fucking no way, is it?
Time flies, boys.
Yeah, man.
Time flies.
Right, I'm going to sign off, but don't hang up yet, T. So, guys, thanks very much for listening. Please hit those like and subscribe buttons.